Yeah.
It took 24 hours for Houston and Baylor to schedule their first matchup against one another in 25 years. Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, bringing you our second game of the week. And it's going to be a fun one, as the Houston Cougars travel to Waco to take on Dave Aranda and the Baylor Bears. Two in-state rivals, former Southwest Conference rivals, that have not met since 1995. It really is hard to believe, guys. And so today we are going to break down this matchup, break down everything you need to know, the keys on offense and the keys on defense for both Houston and Baylor. And at the end, we're going to bring you who we believe will take home the season opener for each of these teams. So a little bit of history here. Baylor leads the all-time series against Houston 14-13-1. 14 wins, 13 losses, and 1 tie. So a Houston victory would tie the entire series. It would even up the entire series. And when you look at how these two teams did last year, they are on opposite ends of the spectrum. Baylor, under head coach Matt Rhule, went 11-3, made the Big 12 championship game, and had they won that, would have been in the college football playoff. Matt Rhule engineered one of the best turnarounds in all of college football. He went 1-11 in his first year in Waco, 7-6 in his second year, 11-3 in his third year, and ultimately got the Bears to the Sugar Bowl, where they fell to Georgia. Now, the Bears are under new leadership. Matt Rhule departed for the NFL, took the head coaching job with the Carolina Panthers, and so Baylor went out and hired LSU defensive coordinator Dave Aranda, one of the best defensive minds in all of college football and one of the best offseason hires in all of college football. Aranda was long overdue for a head coaching job, and I think he is a fantastic fit down in Waco. For Houston, they're coming off a very disappointing 4-8 season in 2019. It was a pretty wild year for the Cougars. They had De'Aaron King, they had a brand new head coach in Dana Holgorsen, brilliant offensive mind in Dana Holgorsen. People thought they could be dangerous in the American Athletic Conference last year. But then after a few games, King decided to opt out, ultimately transferred to Miami, and the Cougars fell to 4-8. Something that not many people thought was possible, but a record that will certainly improve in 2020. But can the Cougars kick off 2020 with a victory over a very good Power 5 opponent on the road? We're going to take a look at each offense here, and the first thing you have to look at is the quarterback position. It's going to be a battle between Baylor's Charlie Brewer and Houston's Clayton Tune. Now, I will go out and say right now that Baylor absolutely owns the quarterback edge. Brewer is one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12. He maybe is one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and is certainly one of the most experienced quarterbacks in the country. He threw for over 3,100 yards and 21 touchdowns in 2019. This is his team. He is a fourth-year starter for the Bears. He's got the most experience. He has the chemistry built on offense, and he is the key for Baylor's success this season. He's going to be the difference maker in a lot of games, and whether or not Baylor can maybe come close to replicating the success they had last year, or whether they're going to see a relatively significant drop-off. Houston, on the other hand, they are starting Clayton Tune, who had plenty of game experience last year when King decided to opt out. He threw for a little over 1,500 yards and 11 touchdowns, but did throw 9 interceptions. That touchdown-to-interception ratio, not too hot there, even though the Cougars still averaged 30.9 points per game in 2019. So when you look at the rest of the offense here, we know Brewer has that offensive edge and that quarterback edge over Tune solely based on experience and obviously decision-making as well. But I also think Baylor owns the overall offensive edge. You've got a great kind of wide receiver battle going on here between Houston's Marquez Stevenson, which had 907 yards and 9 touchdowns last year, and then Baylor's Tyquan Thornton. But you also have Baylor's kind of dual-threat running back going on here with John Lovett and Tristan Ebner, the two running backs that combined for 910 rushing yards last year, but are even more deadly in that passing game as well. So great pass catchers across the board, but when you're looking for balance, when you're looking for more playmakers, even though Houston has a very good wide receiver core, I like Baylor's core of wide receivers plus the running backs plus the offensive line just a little bit more. So Baylor owns that edge here, and what's going to be the key for Baylor in this game offensively is they're going to need to take shots with Charlie Brewer. Again, we mentioned this is his team. He should have free reign in Larry FEDORA's new offense. Remember, Larry FEDORA, the former North Carolina head coach, is now the offensive coordinator for Dave Aranda. He's going to go a little more up-tempo. Baylor's going to play a little bit faster, and I think it's going to suit this offense extremely well here and could pose a problem for Houston's defense. So the key for Baylor is give Charlie Brewer free reign. Let him go out there. Let him rip it. Let him take shots early and specifically just spread the field. Spread the field offensively. Don't hone in on one area here. Don't get too cute. Don't get too one-dimensional. Spread the field early with Charlie Brewer. Take a few shots deep, and I think that's really going to challenge this Houston defense. For Houston, offensively, it may sound cliche, but you're an underdog. Very small underdog, but you are an underdog on the road. You have to take care of the football. And I stress that more than anything right now, considering that Houston had 21 turnovers in 2019. Houston turned over the football 21 times in 2019. That includes 2 games, guys. 2 games with 5 turnovers. So 10 of those 21 turnovers came in just 2 games. One of those against Cincinnati, one of those in the season finale against Navy. So the Cougars have to do a good job of taking care of the football. Clayton Tune has to make better decisions at quarterback if Houston wants to have any chance of winning this game. So Baylor, take shots, spread the field. Houston, we know you can do that, but can you do that safely? Can you do that while taking care of the football? Defensively, this is the key for the entire game. You've got 2 great offenses here. You have 2 capable quarterbacks here. Which defense is going to be able to come up with some stops? Which defense is going to be able to force some turnovers? And we're going to break down each side here. I want to start with Baylor. The biggest concern for Baylor, obviously, is the lack of returning talent, as the Bears only returned 2 defensive starters from that 11-win team that they had last year. So that's obviously a major concern. But not only have they hired one of the best defensive minds in all of college football as their brand new head coach, they also have brought in some key transfers. You have William Bradley King coming over from Arkansas State, a fantastic boost to that defensive core, especially in the linebacking position. You have Dylan Doyle coming over from Iowa, also a huge boost in the linebacking core. And then you have Terrell Bernard, one of the best linebackers in the country. So yes, and we know that William Bradley King is playing that jack position. We know that. But that linebacking core, that front 7 really for Baylor is going to be their strength in this game. And I think that those transfers are very, very underrated. And really, I don't think are getting talked about nearly enough. That's a huge boost for a team that's kind of low on experience going into this game. So Baylor, despite only returning 2 starters, I think could be better defensively than many think. Houston, on the other hand, they are much more experienced. They returned 7 starters on their defensive side of the ball, but they had one of the worst defenses in the country last year. They allowed 34 points per game. They allowed 288.4 passing yards per game. That's the number you need to circle. Almost 300 passing yards per game allowed, and they're going up against one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12. It's a major, major cause of concern. So what are the keys for Baylor defensively? First, shut down Clayton Tune. Baylor needs to shut down Clayton Tune. If you can go in there and you can rattle him early, send some blitzes. If I'm Dave Aranda, I'm sending tons of pressure after Tune. He's not a young quarterback by any means. He had plenty of experience last year. But we know McLean Stadium can be a little bit of a hostile environment, even though there won't be that many fans there. So go in there, shut down Clayton Tune, rattle him early, because I can tell you this, Houston's not going to be able to win the game on the ground. If you take away that passing game, or if you make Clayton Tune a little scared and uncomfortable in the pocket, force him into some bad decisions, whether it's turnovers or just errant passes, maybe Dana Holgerson's going to try to switch more to that run game. And that's not where Houston's forte is. That's not where Houston's strength is. And I can promise you the Cougars are not going to be able to win the game on the ground. It all comes down to that passing game, and I think that Dave Aranda's squad can do just enough to maybe rattle Tune, especially early. The key for Houston defensively is to keep Charlie Brewer from beating you deep. Force Baylor to go into shorter plays. Force Baylor to do little screen passes, little dumps across the middle. Run the ball a little bit with Lovett and Ebner. Just don't allow the big plays. I'm talking about 20-plus yards on a given play. If you can limit those big plays, Houston has a chance here. Remember, we said a key for Baylor is to spread the field offensively. If Houston can take that away, they can prevent Baylor from spreading the ball around. They're going to make Baylor a little bit more one-dimensional, make it a little bit more difficult for them to move the ball. And that could result in a very close game going into the fourth quarter, which is going to give Houston a lot of momentum and a lot of hope to come in there and to pull off this upset. So what is going to happen in Waco? What is going to happen at McLean Stadium on Saturday morning? 11 o'clock Central Time is the kickoff. To me, this game has all the makings of a shootout. Two great quarterbacks, two fantastic offenses, and two defenses that have some questions. But, and in the end, I think Baylor owns the edge at every position. I think Baylor owns that offensive edge. They own that quarterback edge. They own that running back edge. Maybe not necessarily the wide receiver edge, but as a whole, Charlie Brewer is going to move the ball better with Baylor than Clayton Tune is going to move the ball with Houston. Defensively, even though Baylor returns less starters than Houston, even though Baylor is dealing with a brand new head coach and Houston is dealing with their second-year coach in Dana Holgorsen, I still think the Bears have too much size, too much talent, and too much speed on the defensive side of the ball. Again, you bring in some key transfers with some legitimate experience from Iowa, Arkansas State, many others as well. You bring in one of the best defensive minds in all of college football. I believe they're going to be able to come out there and get the job done, despite Houston having a little bit more experience on their side of the ball. And then finally, it kind of relays back to the offense here. Who is going to make the better decisions at quarterback? And that is going to be Charlie Brewer. His football IQ, his experience, and his solid decision-making is going to be enough to lead Baylor to their first of many wins under Dave Aranda, and the Bears escape with a closer than expected victory over the Cougars. But at the end of the day, while it still may be a little bit closer than expected, a win is a win, and after everything that has been going on, Dave Aranda and his Bears will certainly take that. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. As always, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. And also make sure to check out everything down in the description below. We've got exclusive content on our website, thegridironexpert.com, our weekly newsletter, our expert picks, content on our Patreon account as well, exclusive content that will never be posted here on YouTube. So many offers down in the description below, so make sure to give it a look. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Have a fantastic and safe college football weekend, and we will see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.